Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. We three of us we have gathered here for the brainstorming discussion of our CIPE EL component. The topic which we've chosen here is a very important one, which is employee and employer rights. For the purpose of this presentation, Tanish will be acting from an employee perspective, in which he'll be presenting the case for the employee, and Visma will be presenting the case for the employer. And after that, like I'll be like analyzing both the stuff, and like we'll be discussing about how we can make sure that we take both the perspectives and like bring out the positives out of them, and we make a conducive environment for all the parties involved here, so that productivity is prioritized, as well as there is no party which is being penalized, or there's no party which is being completely ripped off their rights. So let's get started. Let's first start with Tanish's perspective, which is the employee perspective case. So here we go.
Okay. So, according to me, employees are the backbone of any organization, and we know their rights should be prioritized to ensure a productive and positive workplace. Some of the fundamental rights that I feel should include fair wages, safe and healthy working conditions, reasonable working hours, and also the protection against discrimination and harassment. What I feel is one of the biggest concerns employees face today is unpaid overtime. Like they have to work a lot for the same amount of salary that they're getting paid. Many employees are expected to work beyond the schedule hours without additional pay. I don't think this doesn't just lead to burnout, but also it creates a financial strain on them. Uh, what I feel is companies should implement clear overtime policies to prevent this exploitation. What do you feel, Pawan?
Yeah, I feel like this is a very important point. But before I say what I think about it, I would love to know from an employer perspective, because I think they will also have some fair and valid points for this discussion. So, Vismay, what do you think about this?
Yeah, so I think that's a valid concern what Tanishq was talking about. But however, from an employer standpoint, business demands can fluctuate sometimes, and project requires extra effort beyond regular hours. That being said, I do agree that clear policies and compensations for employees is required during the overtime, which ensures fairness while maintaining flexibility for both parties.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
what do
Like,
you think?
yes, yes. I feel like that's again a very interesting perspective, Vismaya. But yeah, like I feel like there is positives on both ends, and like I feel if there is a good synergy between the employer and employer, they can figure out about the OT and like the payment stuff for it. And until unless I feel like a particular employee in a particular organization is satisfied with his compensation, I don't think so. The rest of should have a problem. So now let's move on to job security of it. Yeah, like Tanish, what do you think? How many employees fear sudden layoffs? Like we have seen many cases in the recent times as well, in which 700 employees in Infosys were suddenly laid off because they couldn't pass a particular test after their employment was guaranteed itself. So, how do you think like this uncertainty affects the job market in general?
Uh, Pawan, what I feel is job security is very crucial for the employees to like plan the future and maintain financial stability. And unanticipated layoff can like put employees in extremely difficult situations financially and also mentally. I guess employers should provide clear employment contracts that outline job security measures and also how they'll outline fair termination policies and severance pays. What I feel is layoff should be a last resort for any employer, and companies should provide an adequate notice to allow employees to like transition smoothly into their next venture. Uh, that's
Okay.
about it. And what I also feel is uh, paid leave, health insurance, and retire benefits is something that should be like standard in every organization. Employers should not only have to worry about their medical emergencies or burnout due to the lack of rest. And what I feel, companies that offer these benefits tend to like grow a lot, and they also have a more loyal and productive employees.
Correct. Like that's good to hear. But like I want to hear from Vismaya. What does she think? Because she's presenting the case for the employer. What does she think about like work from home perspective, right? Because some people like do make it compulsory for you to like come 5, 6 days a week to office, work 70 hours if not 90 hours a week. But on the other hand, there are other European companies who are like very chill about it. So they are okay with 40-hour week and they are okay with like complete week being a work from home itself. So what do you think about these options?
I mean, I get that work from home, all the remote work has its own benefits, but it's not feasible for every industry, is it? So some industries might require their employees to be present on site and get it work done then and there. But some jobs just require in-person collaboration but however, some flexibility thing is a key, and companies should consider hybrid models, but also keep in mind how that is going to work out for them. I think maybe depending on the clients and the projects that are there, I think they should maintain the key balance between the relationships between the employee and the clients, and also how they can move forward. And also talking about what Tanishq was telling related to the layoffs, I think businesses depend on many factors, but I don't think so layoff is a first go to choice for companies. But I think every businesses are different. A minimum notice period should be helpful for the employees, but for companies struggling financially, it might not always be possible. So instead of, maybe companies should aim to provide an alternative support, say like another assistance in some other company, or financial counseling.
Awesome. So now that we have reached to a certain middle point on that front, let's talk about some other very pressing issue here, which is equal pay for equal work, right? Like I guess in across different industries, this has been discussed, especially in the movie industry recently. But do you think, Tanish, that there should be more regulations to enforce this, as in like there should be proper laws laid out that, okay, if you're doing equal work, you should be equally paid for that as well? I'm sorry if I missed out. Tanish, that question was for you.
Yeah. So can you please come again, Pawan? What were you saying?
Yeah, I was asking about, like, let's say the whole agenda, the whole controversy that is going on for equal pay for equal work. Do you think there
Mhm.
should be more regulations as to hard and fast rules to ensure this happens regularly, or do you think it should be a choice?
I guess the regulations are important, but it's mostly depending on the employees. Maybe for them it might be their choice, but on the other hand, posing regulations or setting up guidelines might be helpful.
Great. So now that we have spoken about employee rights of it, let's move to the other party. So yeah, like Vismay, what do you think like employer rights should look like, right? Like because it's not just a single-handed case here. It's not just that employees are being exploited. There are some cases in which employers are also being very brutally exploited as well. So what are some of the major concerns that employers face these days? Like, what do you think about that?
Okay, so majorly these days, employees invest a significant amount of time and resources in hiring, training, and retaining employees, because we've seen throughout the years, maybe even in our placements, where a lot of time is taken from the company. Uh, to just put in the hiring processes, which goes on for days, and shortlisting is done, and given period of training is done, where employees are paid and written of their expected commitment, productivity, and just their commitment towards the company. But one major issue that employees face is employees misusing the work hours for personal activities, whether it's excessive, say, social media, or taking extended breaks, or engaging in personal tasks during office hours. These behaviors, I think, impact on the overall efficiency and also hurts the business productivity.
Correct. And like again, the same question to Tanishq here, right? Like, how do you respond to that? Like, do you think like there should be stricter monitoring of the employees, or there should be like in a more open space in which they have the liberty to do multiple?
Pawan, I understand that productivity is crucial for businesses, but strict monitoring can like sometimes feel invasive and create a negative work culture. And what I feel is employees need some level of autonomy, and especially with remote work being more common, uh, instead of micromanaging, companies should focus more on the results and performance rather than monitoring every minute of employees' workday. And I think trust between employers and employees leads to better engagement and productivity.
Correct. Awesome. So now that we have reached to the end of this discussion, I just want to summarize a few solutions about it, right? Like we have spoken about a lot of issues here. So after hearing both the cases, I feel like the foundation for any improvement or foundation for double downing on productivity is like maintaining a good employee-employer relationship. The transparency is really important. Like you need to know why you're doing it. You need to know the pain points of both the parties. Employees cannot just throw shit at employers for all their things because they also have legitimate reasons to do so. I mean, like if you've signed up for a job, you knew the good and the bad parts of it. So you should be more committed and there should be more transparency about that. And I feel like there should be more very like very set up labor laws in such as in like there should not be misuse of employees for more than like the maximum working hours. There should be clear company policies which should be like told to every employee when they're joining. Like probably companies can work on their onboarding section as well, in which they clearly make sure that every person in the company knows about all of its policies. And also, open communication can prevent a lot of conflicts. So, in general, like be it an employee or an employer, there should be more open communication between them, which helps them to like just clear out all things so that there is no misunderstanding between them. So once these things, I guess, I feel like these are very basic, but then again they play a very critical role in the long run. So if we are able to achieve that level of transparency, that level of clear and strict labor laws, that level of clear and strict company policies, then I feel like this can be a very win-win situation sort of environment. So yeah, that's our take on employee and employer rights. This was our again reiterating this. I'm Pavan, and we have Tanishq and Vismaya from our same team as well. This is our CIPE EL component for employee and employer rights, and this was our brainstorming take on this. Thank you so much.